was like maybe 6 years old, maybe 5 years old. I don't remember the exact age, but then pops bounced, single mom, she got laid off. We were struggling. We were in a position where I remember that shit like it was the fucking back of my mind, bro. Literally eating the same shit every fucking day, just because my mom was like going through it. You know, it was something that was a little bit harder. Obviously, raising fucking, 3 kids, ones that are older, ones that are younger. Well, 4 kids, right? Obviously, one of them including myself, and I was in this position where I had a lot of hatred towards the whole spill of like the whole father figure. Like, I had so much fucking hatred in my body. I was like, bro, I can't stand this shit. Like, like, how can you be in a position where you're a fucking dad and you're not being present? Because I just never understood that. Like, the times where I was going, and it honestly really developed a lot of mental fortitude in my mind where I would go and I would be right here, honestly, where I'm standing right now, thinking that my pops was gonna pull up, and he just wouldn't. And a lot of people say like, oh, like it cracks me when people are like, oh, bro, you got daddy's money, bro. The amount of shit that I've experienced with having an absent father, that it cracks me up when people say that. And from that point on, I was in a position where throughout school, like, I didn't necessarily have like fucking like temper tantrums and shit like that, but I had a lot of like anger that was spilling like the wrong people, and I always regretted that shit to the max, bro. Like, I always regretted that to the max. And that was like from maybe in the beginning of like elementary or whatever, maybe when I very recently, maybe like 2 months, like I would just like snap, and it would just like get on my nerves, because there would be situations where I would go and face these adversity, face these problems that usually some sort of father figure would help you out with, and then or be in a position where you don't want it, like that's the one person you would ask for help, and you just don't have it. And I think that kind of that put me in a position where I remember there was a lot of times where even one in particular where I was in a position where I had gone and I was at this video show, this little bit transforming, right? Because trans forwarding, and I was in a position where I remember the fucking disrespect this person gave. Like, it was honestly, it cracks me up a little bit now. Like, I kind of just smile about it, but the disrespect that I got, that fucking listening point when I was doing, I was doing a video for my boy Freddie by this coworker, of the girl that he was trying to interview or whatever. It was just unbelievable, dude. Yeah, it was just wild. But the reason why I want to transcend back to that is that I never understood how to handle shit like that. And when that kind of sparked the ignition in me when I was in a position to go and buy these properties. But back to what I was talking about, the childhood, is like, when you're in a situation where you have no father figure, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, you don't know what's for you, and you're going through, obviously, the whole spills of life. Like, when me going through middle school, obviously, just normal fucking kid. I was always working on something in regards to, like, either, like, video games or the fucking, I was just playing video games, like, a lot of the time. Like, I was honestly just bullshitting a lot when I was younger. I remember fucking playing, like, 14 hours a day, 12 hours a day with the whole Fortnite spill, Call of Duty, all the above. And having little, like, there's little people that seemed like older brothers and father figures that were, like, in the sense of, like, helping you out with a little advice thing, but obviously no one was, like, a present father. And then I remember I was in a position where my mom had started to, chop it up with someone. It was like a not necessarily a stepfather type of situation, but it was like, your mom gets, like, a boyfriend or whatever, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And I got real close with him, and then I was starting to get real close with him. I remember going to the boxing gym, and I didn't box like that yet. I was still very young, and I was just in the proximity of that. Do the soccer workouts, all the above. Grew up around all these people that were, playing soccer, and then I was in a position where I started to get close to them. I was like, oh, it's cool. Like, I don't really see my pops like my real pops like that. He obviously moved fucking 2 hours, 3 hours for me. And it's like, as a young kid, they always say, like, not that they always say, but there's a common saying from fucking deadbeat parents that, like, oh, the phone moves both ways. And it's like, as a parent, you're in a position where you need to fucking reach out to your kid. That is your kid. Like, you had the fucking kid. I'm not going to, like, yeah, you could reach out to him, but as a son or whatever the fuck, or as a daughter. But it's like, at the end of the day, the phone goes both ways thing it's just bullshit. Like, I can't fuck with that. And then as I was playing the sports, as I was going to these workouts, and he was training me because he was working as a personal trainer. Not step pops, but who my mom was, dating at the time. It was a little bit of a rougher patch, because I remember I started to get, the attachment. Obviously I was still like, if it was around, I'd be cool with them, and I was starting to get past that guard. And then I remember going to Vegas, and I was sitting with my mom, and we went to Shake Shack. I remember this shit so fucking vividly. We were going to Shake Shack, and I was sitting with her, and then she opened her text, and then she went and she took a phone call outside, and she was gone for a long fucking time. I was like, what the fuck is she leaving? Where is she going? And then she was just out there forever. I was eating with my sister, and I knew that something was not right. Like, I was just sitting there, and I was like, there's something that's not right. And I never thought that it was going to be exactly what happened, because obviously you can't predict shit like that, and honestly, you're not really thinking about that as even a possibility. But hearing that he had passed away in his sleep, I believe it was in his sleep, because it was pretty late when we got there in Vegas. Like, it was maybe like 11, 12. Yeah, it was maybe like 11 or 12, like, just boom, passed. Really woke me up, like how life could be taken from me so fast. Because I think literally like a year before that, my mom's who my mom was dating at the same time, at that time, was in a position where his mom had literally passed from the same shit. They literally passed away from the same thing. It was like a brain aneurysm or whatever the fuck, and they passed away in their sleep. And it's like, for life to be taken away that fast just blows my mind, especially in the proximity of like two different people in such a short period of time. And in that regard, obviously before that connection was obviously just when my grandfather was a bracero, and there were so many damn times where I wish I would have taken that relationship for more than what it was worth, just because I was always in a position where I was like, oh, I want to play video games, I want to do this, I want to go out here. And I wish I would have sat with him more and just asked fucking questions, because this man lived through everything. Like, he had he lived through the Cold War, World War II, Great Depression, literally Vietnam War, literally everything you could fucking imagine in that regard. And I would learn so much in regards to just life advice from obviously learning from somebody else's mistakes as opposed to my own. And that was something that I truly regret. That's one of the biggest regrets that I actually have. And obviously there's nothing that I could do about it moving forward. But transitioning a little bit more forward, when I was in the position where I was in high school, there's not really much that you could really think of doing when you come from a city like mine. Like, a lot of the opportunities in regards to like my city is just kind of like the same shit. Like, it's really just the same spill in regards to either the people go professional, like athlete, or they're either trying to become an athlete, they're trying to become a rapper, they become a trapper, or they go to school. And the problem that I had was, like, I was always good at soccer, but I always fell on and off with it, and that kind of gave me the competitive edge. Obviously, it gave me like the work ethic side of it. But when you have like bad coaches, all the way, it was just like a whole spill. And from that point, I was like midway in high school. I was probably like junior, senior year. Like, I knew that there was something up. Like, I knew I had to fucking change something. I remember I would go and watch, videos online, people that were like, on Lambos and yachts, and it was just on TikTok. I was like, right when TikTok had kind of became like socially accepted, because people are like, oh, if you're on TikTok, you're dancing and all that stuff. Like, people got past that, and I was on it, and I never understood, like, how the fuck are people making money? Like, it never really crossed my mind that there were other ways to make money besides, going to college, because that's what all my family did. And I'm not bashing it at all, because I'm still in college. I'm not going to be like, drop out, the Matrix, all this bullshit. But I was in that position where even, like, there was times I would see, like, Andrew Tate videos when I was, like, in senior year, and people were like, oh, I hate the guy, he's a corner. It's like, bro, like, there's some things he's good, some things bad, just like every single other planet on this, any single human on this fucking planet. And I knew that I was just going to go to community college and try to figure it out just to buy myself time. But I understood that while I was at community college and I was doing these majors that I was at, after, I graduated, and then I stopped hanging out with those people, just because, life fucking splits you, and people have different interests, people do different things. Some people just fucking disappear off the face of the planet, and you're like, I don't know what the fuck happened to them. And I was going to college, and I know that there was, like, what I was doing in that moment was cybersecurity. I fucking just hated this shit. I was in cybersecurity, I was working in a restaurant, and I was in a position where I was trying to, like, work more, because I thought that it would make more sense, because I just hated so much. I just hate cybersecurity so much. I was like, bro, this is not for me. Like, this is not for me, but I don't want to drop out, because I don't know what the fuck I wanted to do. Like, if I would have been in a position where I knew what I wanted to do and I had it mapped out and I was in cybersecurity, I would have left ASAP, until I figured out maybe what I wanted to go back for or do whatever the fuck. But when I was doing cybersecurity, I was working in the restaurant. I would, like, literally look for reasons trying to pick up shifts. But since it was a family restaurant, there wasn't that much, as income coming in. And there's other people that worked full-time there while I was just working part-time, even though my splits were longer. I realized that very fast, working in this restaurant obviously was not going to be it. But trying to distract myself from what the fucking main needle mover was really honestly, I don't think it postponed my accomplishments, but I think it really woke me up a lot faster because I realized, okay, well, I could work insanely fucking hard, but I'm in the wrong thing, so it doesn't matter. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, it doesn't make any sense. As I had, my grandpa and other people in the family that worked in the fields, it's the exact replica of it in regards to not working hard. Working hard in the wrong boat. And I remember literally right here, say I had a yard sale, and it was when I was working in the restaurant, and I had decided to go in the afternoon. Because they gave me the option for that Sunday, and I had that Saturday, and I went in like at 2, but so I had the yard sale in the morning, and I used to make, I would make like pennies on the fucking thing. Every 2 weeks I would make like $500, whatever, something along those lines. And when I made fucking $300 selling bullshit that I had over here at the house in a matter of maybe 4 hours, 3 hours in front of my house, I was like, there's something wrong with this. Like there has to be something else that I could do, but I didn't know what it was, right? And went through cybersecurity, bombed fucking everything. Literally just failed. Ended up dropping everything. After that, I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do. I tried to go and, figure it out a little bit. And then obviously with the beginning of school, I had mostly general ed. So I kind of make my story up in that regard. But beforehand, it was general ed. Like I said, it was still the same spill. Then when I got into cybersecurity, I was like, this is not what I want to do. Boom, dropped out. I remember dropping out there was so much transition in the period that I went through that time. I went from dropping out. No, I didn't drop out first. I went and I started the video business while I was working at the restaurant after I realized from the yard sale that there was shit that there's something I did not know, because how can I make all this money in this short amount of time selling bullshit while I'm busting my ass for 12 hours and I wouldn't even make that in one day? Or making more than half of what I would make in 2 weeks in a span of fucking literally one day. And it was just bullshit. And when I realized that there was something else that needed to change, I really liked the whole video spill, and that was something that I always had done. I had always created content on my phone, recording on Call of Duty, when I would kill people on Call of Duty, and clip them on Twitch and stuff. And the thing about that helped me is that I wasn't really afraid to post content. Obviously, people overthink, people get scared of the whole spill, but I wasn't really I didn't really overthink in that regard. And it really gave me a competitive advantage, because a lot of people that I know and people that I did know, or I know, but maybe back then they were really scared to post content online. But I didn't really give a fuck, because I had already done that. I had live streamed the whole spill. Obviously, I didn't want to go the whole gaming route, even though that's what I did want to do eventually. And I think I had the skill to do it. I just didn't know how to market myself the same way. But back to what I was saying is that as I started to post content while I was in the restaurant doing day in the life, saying look, this is me as a college student, someone that works in a restaurant and building the business, people started to tag onto it. As the videos that went viral, there were 300,000 views, 1 million views. And I was like, oh shit, there's real stuff that you could do, and I actually getting traction from it, because back then with the streams, I wouldn't really get anybody. Maybe max, I would get 25 viewers in the stream, which I thought was a lot. And as I started to grow that, I realized, okay, well, if I can make these videos for myself, they could blow up. Maybe I'm not getting money from it yet, because I haven't been monetized. I can make money for other people, right? I can make fucking go and get someone that's already famous and make them just make big money from the videos. There has to be a way to do it. And that's why I picked up a camera. I spent everything I fucking had. I remember when I had $1,000 in my bank account. I thought that was a lot. I was like, oh shit, I'm balling. And I spent $800 and $50 on this Sony EV10. And it was a digital camera. And I was like, oh shit, boom. I'm going to make all this bread, all the above. And when I realized, shit, this isn't for me, right? I was in a position where I was like, all right, well, fuck it, I'm going to make this happen. And I had the video business that I was trying to start, and I was going, and I was like, all right, I'll make this my videos to the restaurant. I did it for free for the restaurant that I was working at. And it was pretty cool. Everyone was like, oh, yeah, that's cool. And they were kind of like, oh, it's your little business, whatever. And then my mindset was like, no, fuck that, I'm taking this shit to the moon. And I remember I had this boy named Destructive. I still chop it up with him here and there. He does music videos over here in this area. And I took this ride with him over to Lompoc, which is maybe 45 minutes from where I'm at. And he was filming a music video, and I liked the whole way that he operated and the way that he kept his composure in regards to when things went hard, all the above. And I had a long conversation with him, very long conversation with him when I was going through that whole transition in regards to leaving it. And he was telling me, bro, if you're young and you're thinking the way that you're thinking, fuck it, just full send it. You're already at your parents' house, what can you, or your mom's house, grandpa's house was, you're already there, what the fuck can you possibly lose? Full send it. And I was like, all right, fuck it, we're gonna do it. And at that point, I was still very scared to do it. I had fucking spent everything I had. I was just, every single dollar I had was just reinvesting. I was buying new SD cards, mics, tripods, everything to film myself, to make more content, to blow up the brand, all the above. And I do get some videos on TikTok that will pop off and all the above, but TikTok traffic isn't really that crazy. And then from there, I had that whole conversation in 45 minutes and back, there and back. So, I mean, that was like an hour and 30 minutes. Got to see an hour and 30 minutes I spent talking with them, and having those conversations with people that are older, that experienced it, allowed me to really go in, or that he's older and experienced, that really allowed me to go and see how he carried himself. Alongside that, what they do versus what they say. And then it really was one of the eye-opening conversations. I remember that shit so fucking vividly, sitting there driving, and I was in the passenger. I'd never met this dude before, and I was like getting in the car, boom. It seems like ballsy shit. I didn't tell anybody what the fuck I was doing. I didn't get home till like maybe 11 p.m. But like I said, I didn't tell nobody. I was like, oh, boom, I have to do this stuff. And as soon as I got back, I was more motivated than ever. I was trying to get, music shoots. Anytime that I was trying to do with this camera, I was trying to shoot, because I love the idea of content creating in regards to like cinematography. And I kind of started to fall out of it. I was like, there's not really that money in it. And I started to become more money driven, because I understood that, money was something that was a big component, because obviously I fucking went. I said, fucking, I'm gonna leave this job. And I literally left the job. I had negative $163.20. I think that's exactly what I had. I left that shit. I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. And I realized that if I would have kept doing like the half-ass, like, oh, I'm here, I hate it, but I'm still here type of thing, I would have been in a position like most people, where they're going and saying like, oh yeah, I really hate my situation, but they're going partially comfortable in it. And then as I continued to grow, I started to make more money. I ended up having, I think it was like my first like 5K month or 7K month. Was I right on the number? $160.28. I think that's what I said. I don't know, you call me on it. And I was like, all right, fuck it. Well, I just hit my first 5K month. I started to connect with people that were bigger, because I was doing, detailing companies. And then I got connected with a mortgage lending company. I was like, okay, well, this real estate spill is eventually what I'm going to do, whether as an investor or just being in a position where I'm just buying properties, not necessarily an investor, but I have to buy property eventually. And I didn't really have the whole spill on it. But then when you're consulting with people, they're giving advice on the videos, you're asking questions alongside it, offside the camera, and you're genuinely curious about it. Is a big thing, is like the genuine curiosity. People actually want to help you. And I never realized that. Like people actually want to help you when you're going and doing this whole spill. And I fucking went and did ballsy shit. Like after I had the 5,000, I was like, in a position where I felt like I was balling. And I said, fuck it. I'm going to go and, ball out and try to buy, better equipment. I don't know why I thought that it was going to make a big difference. And it did, partially just for like authorities reasons and all the above. And I was like, all right, fuck it, I'm going to send it. And I put myself literally like $15,000 in credit card debt. I don't know if you can see it because of the glare. Oh no, my fucking camera turned off, but this one card is $3,000, it's inverted, and then this card was fucking $12,000, and this was like while I was making $5,000. I was like, fuck, bro. And I was, business credit cards, they don't really affect your personal credit report unless you do late payments. But I was like, I don't know what I was doing. I was just like, I need better equipment. Boom, I sent it. Sold my other camera. Boom, used it to pay off card, and I was just like in so much fucking debt, bro, because I was like, it's either all or nothing. And I ended up getting connected with my boy Eddie, who's doing really big stuff. So shout out to Eddie, because I got into his program after. That's one of the things I bought on that Amex Blue, and I was like, all right, fuck it. Well, I need to be around the right people too. And as I was, working with this mortgage lender, I would drive home, I would drive there, drive back, fucking sitting in traffic. Sometimes it would be late payments. I was like, bro, like, what? Late payments on my invoices. I was like, what the fuck? Like, these guys, like, why they little bro like that? And I just hadn't built my authority. I hadn't built the self-confidence. I hadn't built the fucking evidence of the stuff that I wanted to do. And it really impacted me on my mindset. There's a lot of times where sometimes, like, I would sit there either in gas stations or in the freeway, or even in, like, once I got home, just sit there in the fucking car, like, why the fuck is nothing working? Like, nothing is working. I left this job. I said, fuck this job. I don't want to go back. I'm in college at the same time. I'm trying to crack this fucking code. I had dropped those cybersecurity classes. I didn't have any other classes I picked up. I think I might have I take that back. I did pick up some other general ed classes or some other bullshit, because I was like, I'm not trying to do nothing. And I did that all while I was in a position where I was still lost on what the fuck I wanted to, like, really, really do. But I knew I wanted to do something with video, really do something that was out of the ordinary. And I bought this guy Eddie's program because I saw it on social media. I don't even remember how I exactly saw it, but I just kept seeing the videos about him being a high ticket creator. That's what he talked about the whole time. That was the whole spill. bought the program, did payment plans because I was really scared to invest money. It was like $1,000. I did a payment plan for 3K, so it was like 1,000, right? And I thought that was fucking a lot, but now that I think about it, it's like I spend more on fucking invoices for these properties and that shit. And I was in this position where it was a whole new spill, internet money, all these kids making fuck shit ton of money, people doing big things at such a young age. And I was like, what the fuck, and I just turned 19. Then I got into the whole spill of like how to write an offer, how to be more than just a videographer, how to convert content, how to post, script write, all this shit. And there was a lot of stuff that I was learning. And eventually I learned about the whole creating a value proposition, offer, all the above. And then Eddie had basically said that like you should go and make these offers to other people over and over and over. So I was like, okay, well, if I'm doing this and I'm seeing success with it with other people, why the fuck am I not gonna just do it to him? Like, he obviously has the platform. So I did it. I said, hey, bro, like, I'll fly myself out to you. I'll cover my own shit. I'll go and I'll fly to you. I'll film this content for free. All I want is a case study, testimony, all the above. And that fucking was probably the hardest decision I had to make, because it was also the weekend of my brother-in-law's bachelor party, and that was like, not because I wanted to go be a bachelor and shit, because they didn't really do anything, just went paintballing. But the reason why I say this is because it was one of the closest people I was with. So like when I talk about older brothers and all that stuff in the earlier, he was one of the main ones, like one of the biggest main ones. And it was a hard conversation to have, and he's like, no, go handle, boom. And I did that, and that was probably the best decision I've ever made, literally that I ever made, because from that moment on, I got connected with people like this homie Rios, and then ended up closing him as a client. It was like a 5K PIF. And this was, where's I'm at? This is me with Eddie over here. I don't know if you can see it, in Chicago. And from there, it just kind of like transcended. It was just like, new connection, social proof. And I realized that even just being in proximity and the way that you could go and push shit on social media and the perception, people are just like, boom, they associate you with value just because of the individuals that you're around. Even if you don't have everything in place to value provide. And when I went and started posting, I was with Eddie, and then I was in Chicago, and I was a 19-year-old videographer. And the page started to get a little bit more traction. On social media, I think I got to like 5K followers, which I'm on TikTok, and I only had like maybe 1,000 before that. So I just kept spilling and boom, 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 going over and over. And people were like, oh, how do you do videography? Boom, talked about it. I started to build my proof. And I also want to talk about the business credit side, because that's the only reason I started the videography business. And I understood this is my trifecta. Like, look, I want to go and understand the videography for marketing reasons, understand the business credit side, and perfect it, because I eventually want to get into real estate, and this whole thing's going to transcend it. That's what I ended up doing. It went from business credit side from videography, learning how to market, transcending that into business credit side, and then third, eventually the real estate side. But I understood that those are the three most valuable things. Was one, how to market yourself, how to fund deals, and how to buy the deals. Because I eventually, like I said, I always wanted to be in the real estate. And as I connected with Eddie, I started to leverage that for people that were like, oh, I want to go and I need a videographer for here. I went on the story. I was like, oh, bro, like one of them was like this homie Nick Lauer that I haven't even met in person yet. But he would be like, oh, I want a videographer for this event. And I was like, oh, bro, I'll do it for free. Boom, I shot with Eddie. This is my past work. Boom, boom. And he was like, hey, bro, I appreciate your hunger. Honestly, I don't even need it right now. I don't need it anymore just because a trip got canceled or somebody else took it. But this homie I know, like my boy Ryan, he needs it. Like when you do it, I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I'll do it for free. I don't give a fuck. Oh yeah, I can film. I don't give a fuck. And I went, did that whole spill. Ryan's probably one of the most pivotal people that I've ever met. And I obviously did that whole shoot. I went to Cancun. I forgot what it is. Playa something. I forgot what the fuck they call it. Playa del Carmen. And I went there, did that whole shoot. That was a crazy fucking trip. That was a crazy trip. Got my content posted by him in regards to his repost. He doesn't have a lot of followers, but he has a lot of people that are really down for him. And got connected with that. Then eventually he had another mastermind that was in Colombia, went with there. And it was just like a lot of transcending things that people started to see from my hometown. Like, oh shit, this fool's in Colombia, and this fool's in fucking Costa Rica, this fool's in... I went to Japan. But that was before the video business started to take off or do well. And right around that time was when I hit my first 10K month. I think I was like right after I had went back to Chicago for the second time, which I didn't mention. After I met, Eddie and all them, I ended up meeting this guys Renzo and Ibrahim. And I went back that month. And then the next month was I hit my first 10K month. But since I had fucking accumulated so much debt because I was just being ballsy, like I said, this is fucking everything. I had to obviously pay that back. And then I also was just spending like a moron. And it was basically like you're borderline working for free. But in that same regard, I never regret any of that shit because it was like there was no other alternative. It was literally like either do that or you're gonna be stuck in the same spot, because I didn't have the funds. Like, I had to use business credit because I just didn't have the money in my pocket to fucking buy it in the first place. And I never really talk about that story a lot, but when people ask me like, oh, how I met them, how I did the whole spill, that's what I tell them about. And as I went back, as I went to Colombia, as I went to fucking Costa Rica, all this shit, just because of the video side, I realized like this is not what I really want to do. Like, I like being behind the camera in the sense of like creating content, but I want to do it for myself because I don't want to be always the camera guy. I don't want to be a camera guy. I want to be in the main spill, and that's what I'm trying to pivot. I'm pivoting toward right now, in regards to putting myself in front of everything. And it was a very hard transition. And as I started to go and figure out what the new destiny was in regards to my approach to real estate, there was like Airbnb that hit me up, traditional rental over here where I'm at in Oxnard, and then other spills. I was like, this shit really makes sense for me. Like, Airbnb is like too volatile. Traditional investing, I was like, I don't have the proper W-2s, tax returns. It's like, I can't even buy shit. So then I was like, all right, well, it has to be something else. And then my boy Gio, that ended up meeting because of the business credit side, he taught me a lot of stuff, and that's one of the people I give a lot of props to because he took me under his wing. Didn't really know any sort of spill, and that was like right when I had to hit the 10K month after I got back, and he and Rios introduced me to him, and that was something I consistently followed up with because of the perceived value of Gio, and ended up being very valuable. And then from there, I was like, all right, fuck it. Well, I'm gonna be in a position where, I'm eventually transcend to the real estate side, and I don't want to do videography, so let me help people with business credit. Boom, we help people with the business credit. Say, look, this is how I started my video business. This is how I was successful. I'll help you with the business credit side, and also with the marketing side. Right? You get it up to, you start it, and you also want to grow it. Did that, boom, spill, and I realized, okay, well, I want to get out of the in front of the camera. Got out of in front of the camera, and eventually it was something that was a very hard transition. I said, fuck it, we're gonna go and full send it, and I remember just the constant overthinking, like, oh, I'm just this videographer. People say me videographer, and I was like, I have to push it away. Like, I eventually have to push it away. And this was like right around the middle of like 2024. And I was still filming for real estate agents, boom. And I was very like knowledgeable the real estate side in terms of hypothetical, just because, talking to his realtors, talking to his lenders, talking to his investors, they were in a position where alongside, knowledge they were giving the camera, they were giving me knowledge on the side about other certain things. And it really opened my eyes to the way the world works, and also understanding how like debt works, and understanding the right debt, proper debt, a debt accumulation, asset pay down, everything. And right around like February, or like May of 2024, which had just passed, maybe like 2 months ago, I was like, I can't do this shit anymore. Like, I need to pivot it out. So right around June, I had some money saved, not like a lot, maybe like 10 grand, and I was like, all right, well, I need to do something. I need to change something. And I always felt the most like progress when I was in the mentorship program. I was getting taught stuff, all the above, not just like relying on my old knowledge. And I was like, all right, fuck it. Well, I'm gonna buy this program that my boy Gio had sent me in regards to the Do Name Section 8 Kareem, because I eventually thought I was gonna buy with Gio, but I started to get close to my boy Alex and Dylan, just because Gio was in a position where he was like going country to country, and it was just like a little bit harder, right? And Eddie's program had connected me with Dylan and Alex, so I knew that they were solid. And as I started to get closer with them, I linked up with them in San Diego, multiple times. I got a little bit more closer with Alex just because Dylan had a lot more stuff going on. I just talked to Alex a lot more. Even though Dylan introduced me to him, I was like, hey, bro, like, is this something you'd be open to doing after me and him got pretty close? And he was like, oh, like, what's the whole spill? I was like, oh, we're just buying properties. They're out of state. Random Section 8. He's like, yeah, bro, like, I'll be down. And then eventually, and then Dylan was down too because of the whole spill. And then Dylan ended up not doing it, but we wasted a good amount of time going back and forth in regards to how it's gonna work. Boom, us all talking about it. And then eventually, I was like, you know what? Like, if I don't figure out how to do it myself and fucking full send it, like, no one, like, it's never gonna happen. Like, in my mind, I was like, it's never gonna fucking happen. So I was like, all right, fuck it. Well, I'm gonna go and do this whole spill. So then, I eventually go and say, fuck it, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to do this. And then if I go and present that as my value proposition and say, hey, look, Alex, this is the shit that I'm doing. You want to do it? I think that they would take it more serious. Because like I said, we just was bullshit. Like, yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, we'll do it. And that's why I would say, like, don't waste fucking time. If you go and fail fast, you can learn a lot faster. So I was just prolonging it. We were just prolonging it. And I think I would have got my first rental before 20 years old. If I wouldn't have bullshitted. So I straight up just bullshitted. And I was just, doing it, cruising, doing my videos, making like, the cool like 10K a month, 9K a month, 8K a month, whatever. And eventually I was like, all right, fuck it. Well, I'm just buy it. Boom, I bought the program. It was 5K, paid it. I was like, hey, Alex, I just paid this program. Is this something you want to do? If not, I'll just do a full set myself. He said, fuck it, let's run it. Boom, we ran it up. Understood the whole business credit spill from the shit that I had with Gio, explained it to him. We had like 10K in our account. We had learned the whole program, realized there was a bunch of hypothetical knowledge as opposed to like real world examples, and not what was promoted. And I was like, all right, well, I'm already in too deep. I'm not gonna get a refund. I'm just gonna fucking figure it out. And they were like, oh, seller financing, you buy property for 10K down, bunch of bullshit. For a beginner standpoint. So then I was like, all right, well, if I have this property and it always says it's 100K and I need to put 20% down, the whole 10K down shit is completely out of the window. So I said, all right, well, how the fuck am I going to figure it out? I understood business credit. I understood it was 1% of what you borrow. I started to obviously, leverage it in a smarter way as opposed to back then I was just ballsy buying the fucking camera equipment that was like $12,000. And I said, fuck it, let's full send it. So in regards to me full sending it, I was in a position where, we had the 10K, we watched the modules, whatever. That was liquid. I had the business credit line. It was like $25,000 Ink Unlimited that I'm actually going to pay off this month. So I'm talking about how fast your fucking life could change. And I opened that. I said, let's run it. He did the same thing. We liquidated it. We bought our first property. Ended up having to put work into it, which would fucking piss us off. Then it started cash flow, whatever. It's like $2,000 a month. Then we were like, all right, fuck it. Well, instead of us being in a position where we're going to, try to work it out and make sure it's chilling and this and that. And before buying another one, I said, fuck it, let's buy another one. Boom, bought another one. From rolling over the profits, we were in a position where we're still focusing on our businesses. Buying the property brought us a lot more traffic to make us respectable in regards to what our industry was. His was cybersecurity and software, and mine was just the video business and marketing. So then we bought the other property. Boom, it started to spill. Then people were like, hey, you want to teach me? And I was like, bro, I don't think I'm qualified to teach. And I kind of did that whole repellent spill, and I kind of worked in a positive manner because people were like, oh, this was not trying to hard sell me, and I genuinely wasn't. I didn't feel like I was qualified just because I had done 2 deals in regards to buying out of state, which no one really done in my area, so that was my unique value proposition. And also my following. So I was like, fuck it, well, I'm just teaching people for free. Boom, helped out one cat, and then from there I was like, all right, well, I'm start charging for him. Boom, charge like 3K. Boom, started creating, and I was like, oh fuck, well, I have a no-brainer offer. I was like, oh, this is a no-brainer offer, pues. And eventually I was like, all right, well, I'm going to have to fucking, this is what I'm going to do full time. I actually genuinely liked it, and I liked helping people. I liked the reactions on it. So, but I understand that from a leverage standpoint, and I talked about previously in regards to business credit, extending time and all that. I was like, I'll be higher leveraged than doing a real estate agent or being a mortgage broker because I'm in a position where I don't have to work for free on the front end. I get paid on the front end. And 2, I get outsourced to those work. And if I really wanted to take a cut from it, but I didn't want to do that, I was like, whatever. But I go and put the ball in their court. They orchestrate, they already get paid up front. Started to do the whole spill. And that's when this shit started to do a lot better organically because people want to do what I was. I didn't realize how much money people actually had saved up, but they just couldn't get qualified to do the W-2s, not having 1099s, all the above. So I was like, all right, well, fuck it, this is what I'm doing. After that, I started to take off. I had some of the best months I had. Like in February, I had like a $44,000 a month. I posted about that too. And then from there, it was just consistent around that area. Sometimes it would drop a good amount, if I was traveling, whatever. But then we started to buy, also in California. We're like, fuck it, well, we want to buy for appreciation and cash flow. So we bought a fourplex in California, $740,000, and we just continue to grow that. But I learned a lot of shit in regards to buying out of state because you never realize how people are when it comes to money. Because you deal with tenants that don't want to pay, you deal with tenants that pay late, you deal with tenants that fucking say you're a slumlord. It's you deal with so much shit that it builds this resistance that when you have a good tenant in a place, you're like, fuck, thank God. And we have a tenant right now in a fourplex that was getting out, and we're like, bro, no mames, even though my mothers are following us here. And it was the shit that we did wrong because we screened, we did the whole thing, they checked them, but it's there was some issue with them that you couldn't see on the application. And I was in a position where I was like, bro, honestly, Alex was kind of a little more pissed off than I was, but I was like, bro, we already done with this whole spill. But I really believe that going and obviously taking that initiative to go and bust your ass right off the rip is going to build you the resistance, build you the skills, build you the fucking time management, build you the asset management in regards to getting the whole thing done. Because I remember I was when there was just repair this, repair that, I'm like, fuck, no mames. I didn't realize how expensive this shit was. And I always tell people, you got to be conservative because I got blindsided with it. If I didn't understand business credit, I would have been blindsided by it even more. I would have been a lot more pissed off. I wasn't working. If I didn't live at home, I would have been a lot more pissed off because I have more responsibilities. And that's why I always tell people to be very conservative with that regard. But, we're buying into California, realizing that, okay, I already put the blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, the sweat and tears in regards to buying the out of states, which is, in my opinion, a lot harder to orchestrate But if you have the funds in state, it's a lot harder to buy in California because of the prices and the requirements. But it's a lot easier to orchestrate. Buying out of state, harder to orchestrate, less requirements. And about that, like I felt good. Right now we're having the whole spill in regards to the evictions with the first property that we bought with the tenants, and my sister property has eviction. The property that we have right now in the fourplex is having someone move out. It's not like an eviction; they're just willingly moving out, and then placing tenants in this other property. And it goes to show that you're never gonna. I was never gonna be in a position where I had someone that was gonna handheld me or give me the path or give me the like this is what you do or whatever the fuck, because I didn't have any of those people. Like no one in my family had even owned this many properties. Like I'm the youngest person that owns this many properties or just owns this many properties in general. And I don't see that as a flex. I see that as like, okay, well, like man the fuck up, and I've kind of had a lot of self-development that came purely from the fact of just taking these actions and learning from perspective of life from individuals, whether it's like someone like Frank Salazar that I look up a lot to, or just these actions that realize like, okay, well, you need to be sharp on your word, you need to be punctual, you need to be fast, you need to be straight up, you need to be blunt, you need to be conservative, you need to go and calculate your numbers correctly, you need to be able to walk away, you need to be able to see how people treat you when they don't, doesn't matter, when you don't, directly benefit them. All these fucking things, they purely just come from this whole spill. And I know I kind of went on a tangent, but I'm just like, there's so many things that just happened, and it's just happening so fast. But I just think that for the next 6 to 12 months, it's just a matter of controlling everything, making sure that everything's moving solid, and then we're gonna buy another set of either a fourplex, triplex, or some sort of multifamily unit, close out 15 units by the end of the year. But I don't think any of this happens possible without one having the trauma, I guess you could say, in the beginning that pushed me and said, fuck that, I would never be a man like the father that I have. And alongside that, being in a position where there's no one that's saying like, hey, look, we'll back you up, and said no, just like fuck it, whatever, just having that, putting it on myself, even though it was not my fault that what happened, it's my responsibility, learning from everybody, being a student to the game, being in a position where you understand your 3 pillars, which like I said was me, videography, learn how to market, 2, understand the credit space, because the credit and business funding, because in the United States, your word, credit is basically your word, and if you don't have it, you don't have shit. It's very hard to do anything. And 3, real estate. I understand my 3 trifecta, and that's the reason why it was like people were like, oh, like, what are you doing now? What are you doing now? It's like, no, it's not that what I'm doing now. It's everything's gonna combine, and you guys are gonna fucking see. And now people are seeing it. But yeah, like we have our program that we're running up. That's gonna be my main focus. We're gonna be the next 6 to 12 months is just getting people in there, getting people results, and buying another set of units before the end of the year. And it's been a very wild ride. If you look through all my past content, you'll see all the shit I'm talking about is another stuff that I'm just making out of my ass. And there's been failures. There's been failures. Like the property the first one we bought, way too many repairs that we thought, didn't know how to look at inspection reports correctly. The agent that we had was just honestly not even that good. They were just like, oh, buy the property, boom. Because like I always tell people, where their work ends, your work begins. And I was just like, fuck, like we missed this, we missed that, we didn't really this. And I'm grateful for it all. I'm grateful for the problems because like I said, they're lessons. But yeah, I appreciate you guys watching this. I know I didn't really get like a call comprehensive, but there's just so many fucking things that happen. It's very hard to talk about. But if you want in particulars for me to answer, leave a comment down below. And I'll go to the hospital. If you watch this entire thing, DM me the word fucking, or DM me or comment the word fucking panda, and I will think of something that I can provide to you that's valuable. I appreciate you a shit ton doing that. Whether it's fucking, I don't know. Honestly, I can't even think about it, but message me that word. I'll know that you came this far, and I appreciate you.